we got a chance to speak to the director and writer of the brand new Netflix movie Luther, The Fallen Sun, Jamie Payne and Neil Cross. Jamie, Neil, tell me this. There seemed to be a conscious decision on your part. Reboot isn't the right word. Maybe reintroduce the character of Luther, because watching The Fallen Sun, I felt like you didn't have to see any Luther before and you could still be involved in this completely.
That's a very high compliment. Thank you very much. We worked very hard, Jamie and me, and a lot of talking and a lot of finessing to ensure that anybody could watch the movie. So if you have watched the TV show, the continuity is absolute. We haven't changed anything about the history or the continuity, but you do not have to have seen a moment of the TV show to watch this as an entirely standalone movie.
Yeah, and you get really strong sense. Sorry, you go ahead. Your questions will be much more interesting than my answers, that's for sure.
Not at all. I'm here to talk to you guys, but I was going to say, and is this a viable way forward? Because, I'm one of those people that kind of is constantly Googling when season 6 coming out, But are these standalone films every 18 months or so, given Idris's schedule? Is that a possibility to keep this story and character going?
Well, I tell you, from my part, I've had a little inkling into the amount of story that Neil is conjuring and thinking about and playing with. And the lovely thing is, in a lot of ways, it feels like a new beginning. You could look at the 5 seasons if you want to, as a backstory, as an origin story to where we head next. But just before we came in this room, I was talking about the novel, Luther, right. The Call. So the truth is, Luther stories can be told in many different formats, but we're hoping that this is the beginning of what they like to call a franchise.
I'm very excited at that notion. Also, I'm working under the assumption that this is somehow easier to make than a TV series, but I don't think that's right.
I think both Jamie and I worked under a not dissimilar assumption and were very quickly proved comprehensively wrong.
I was going to run this bit later if you think it's a spoiler, but I'm very curious as to why you decided to move that third act confrontation outside of the claustrophobic confines of London that we've seen in the last 5 seasons of the show, and why make it grand in some sense.
Yeah, the thing is as well is that Lutherland, which we love, those streets that you refer to, those dark noir-filled streets, are a big part of the stories. And in some ways, I'd imagine will always be part of the stories. But I think, it was really, the ice represented something else. That incredible scape is, for me, like a pictorial negative opposite of those dark streets. All the streets that you can hide secrets in, they've got a lot of shadows to look into and wonder what's there. That frozen tundra, there's nowhere to hide. So it has its own kind of visceral energy, if that makes sense. And also, we tread a fine line. Luther exists in a parallel to our world. It's more monster movie. It's certainly more graphic novel. So that kind of, it reminds the audience that we're in a very much a constructed world that is as thought out as every other part of our world. But it's also very handy before we take the audience to what is probably the darkest part of the story. So we get to open up the world, see what you've just suggested, and then take them into the last dark chapter.
I've got about 30 seconds left, but yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. And I say this in the best way possible, but I've always seen Luther as a kind of superhero adjacent thing because of the villains that he's forced to face. They're almost comic book super villain-esque.
I think Luther is essentially a folkloric character. This is a pre-superhero. He's a knight errant.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. And I'm completely out of time now. But gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. And please keep making these. They're fantastic.
We're going to try.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Keep watching them.
Let the nightmare come. Because I'm ready.
Luther, The Fallen Sun is now streaming on Netflix. Watch it. Let us know what you think. Sound off in the comments. Don't forget to check out our other interviews. Like, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, tell your family. You know what to do.